Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a webinar on how Google's AI and ChatGPT are reshaping search behavior. Just a quick introduction on who's speaking today. I'm Simone, Search Intelligence Lead for the APAC region at Similarweb. I have a background in market research, a degree in psychology. I am originally from Milan, Italy, but living in Singapore since 2019, which is where I'm speaking to you from today. And honored to having all of you joining us in this webinar. Today, we are going to deep dive into what's top of mind for everyone and how AI is changing the way we search and how can brands stay visible in Gen AI search. For many years, as most of you know, the 10 blue links, a list of web pages ranked by relevance, has been the primary method for finding information. With the use of AI, this experience is being totally transformed into something more conversational, personalized, and intelligent. This is more than an update. It is what we call a revolution. In this webinar, we are about to explore the key advancements driving this change and how they are shaping the present and the future of online behavior. So just to be focused on today's agenda, what we will cover specifically will be three things. Number one, understanding how AI chatbots are fragmenting discovery and what brands need to do to stay ahead. Number two is how Google is fighting back with its latest AI advancements and the impact on brands' online visibility. Then we cover how to analyze your competitors and surface opportunities for yourself. We'll spend about 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes on the first 2 points, followed by the third point on the agenda. We will get into a live demo as well. Towards the end of the session, we will save 10 minutes for Q&A. So throughout the session, feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll aim to answer as many as possible during the Q&A session. Sounds good? Let's get started with the first point on the agenda, which is the AI search revolution, how AI is fragmenting discovery. It's no secret that generative AI chatbots are having a massive moment. You probably are using them a lot already, and their usage is in fact skyrocketing. Traffic to the leading AI chatbot sites has more than doubled in the past 12 months, and that's a dramatic shift in digital behavior. Dramatic in what sense? Let's look at this slide and see that even though Google is still the real market power, is still the big boss in the market because it commands almost 6 billion visits worldwide. They are about 93 times bigger than all major chatbot combined. Search behavior is disrupting indeed, which is reflected in the stagnation of Google. So as you can see from the graph below in red, from January to July 2024, Google recorded 583 billion visits. And January to July 2025, so same period this year, Google recorded 575 billion visits. Like I said, which is still 93 times bigger than AI chatbots. However, more and more we see customers engaging with chat for information and for product discovery. And we see that traffic to AI chatbots moved from 2.6 billion visits to almost 6.2 billion visits in the same period this year, January to July 2025. This isn't gradual change. You see it's an increase of 135% year over year. This isn't gradual change. This is a fundamental rewiring of how people interact with information. And new entrants, as you can see, ChatGPT dominates AI chatbots. ChatGPT is probably the one that you have started using, at least in the beginning, dominates the AI chatbots market with 78% market share. By the way, when we talk about market share in this presentation, what we're talking about is the clicks share, so the share of voice. But faces growing competition as chatbots like DeepSeek and Grok fragment the AI market, gaining traffic. In fact, what this means for customers is that your customers are spreading across multiple platforms. Optimizing for ChatGPT has to be the starting point for every brand, but it's not the end of the story, as your consumers are spreading across different AI chatbots as well. It's important to identify on which chatbots they are going to find info relevant to your brand and optimize accordingly. We'll get into that in a few minutes as we dive into our data dashboard. But to stay on topic here on how AI is disrupting search, what we are seeing is that in just 2 years, ChatGPT adoption among Google users jumped from 1% to nearly 17%. This is the graph on the left. What we call Google audience overlap with ChatGPT is people using Google that also use ChatGPT in the same day. And in July 2023, that was 1%. It jumped to 11% in July 2024, and July 2025, we are at 17%. So nearly 1 in 6 people are using, 1 in 6 people that use Google are now actively using ChatGPT. And this is where it gets interesting for brands and e-commerce leaders. ChatGPT started out as a simple answer machine. You asked, it answered, and the session ended. But now, look at the right-hand chart. In 2023, only 0.3% of users click through to external websites from ChatGPT. Fast forward to 2025, the number is now about 8%. That's a massive leap in click-through efficiency, driven by model improvements, better prompts, and rising user trust. In short, ChatGPT isn't just answering anymore, it's now sending traffic. And what we want to find out next is, okay, that's all good and great, but to which website is it sending traffic? And let's take a look at an example from the Australian market. Brands optimizing for AI visibility today will own tomorrow's consumer journey. We isolated the few industry, actually 5, like fashion, travel, marketplace, furniture, consumer electronics. They capture 62% of all ChatGPT e-commerce referrals. Think about what that means. If you're in one of these industries and you're not optimizing for AI discovery, you're missing the boat. The question is, when someone asks ChatGPT for recommendation in your category, does it mention your brand? For instance, when within fashion, we see the Iconic is leading in terms of traffic share. In the travel space, Airbnb and Expedia are competing for the share of voice. In the marketplace category, Amazon is leading, and Temple & Webster takes the top spot for furniture and homeware. And tracking brand visibility in consumer conversation with AI chatbots is critical. And as I said, we will explore it on how you can do that with Similarweb. But first, let's dive into the second point of the agenda, which is, let's see how Google is fighting back this AI revolution. AI is taking over chunks of search. How is Google adapting to it? And that's where we go into Google's AI response and implications, how Google fights back and protects commerce. Let's start from 2 principles that are always true, that are evergreen, because they directly tie to Google's profitability. Number 1, Google makes money if users find on it what they are looking for. This is the SEO game, right? Traditional SEO game. Broadly speaking, Google's algorithm penalizes websites that are not interesting for users and promotes those that are, so that users have as good as an experience as possible and will keep coming back, which means brands hang around because users keep coming back and brands spend advertising money with Google. Second principle is Google makes money if brands are able to make money through Google. Therefore, Google has to strike a balance, a smart balance between quickly surfacing precise content users are looking for and protecting brands' ability to make money. And here are some examples of how Google is doing that. Google is fighting back with AI overviews, answering questions directly instead of sending people to websites. At Similarweb, we have run an extensive analysis across keywords and websites surfaced by those keywords in the Australian market and found a clear insight. Informational searches get 5.5 point increase in 0 clicks. But here is what matters for those of you in the audience who work with transactional websites. Transactional searches barely moved. When people want to buy something, they still click through. The commercial intent is still there. Google wants to quickly surface content if what you're looking for is information. And it tends to do so with AI overviews, and wants to quickly surface products when your search is of transactional nature. This is where AI overviews is not relevant for Google because it would rather show you shopping ads that you can click on, make a purchase so you can find quickly what you need. The merchant sells the product and Google makes ad money. Everybody's happy. Let's look for example at an example live. If I go on Google here and I look at what are the hottest running shoes in Singapore right now, Google will come up with an AI overview because this is clearly an informational query, or we can call it an informational prompt. Google gives me options. It tells you, oh, the hottest running shoes are Nike Pegasus, Asics Nova Blast, and so forth. If instead I open another tab and I look at Nike Pegasus, boom, it shows me products because Google wants me to click into this. I make the purchase, they make money, Shein makes money because I made the purchase, and all the three parties are happy. So this is how Google is trying to protect commerce. By the way, guys, since I have you here on the screen sharing for Google, maybe I can use this chance to debunk a myth. So as you can see here, when I ask, what are the hottest running shoes in Singapore right now, Google gives me options and then also tells me how to choose, for example. And then there are links on how to choose. And you see this link is Decathlon. It says how to choose the best running shoes. Many brands, many clients I speak with, they seem to be under the impression that if I take care of SEO from a traditional point of view, generative AI optimization is going to take care of itself. You know, I do right by Google. From a traditional point of view, generative AI will follow. This is somewhat sometimes true. However, for this specific example, I search, where is this link? How to choose the best running shoes from Decathlon Singapore. And I scroll the first page and is nowhere to be found there. And actually, I had to go all the way to page number 7 on Google to find how to choose the best running shoes in Singapore from Decathlon Singapore. This is not a page that is well optimized for this prompt, but still, in the AI overview on page 1, it surfaces its content. If I go back to page 1, that's where it surfaces the content. So bear in mind, taking care of SEO does not necessarily automatically take care of generative AI optimization. That's why you need to have insights. And here are some tips on how to boost your visibility. Number 1, implement a rich schema markup, add product reviews, add FAQ schema markup to help AI understand your content structure, pricing, and availability. Google loves these things because it can easily surface answers that you have from your website because you clearly identify them with a schema markup. The second tip is track AI overviews keyword triggers. Monitor which keywords trigger Google AI overviews versus regular results. Focus on protected transactional keywords while adapting vulnerable informational content. Now, to go back to ourselves, let's look at another example. This other example is a very solid example that comes from the travel industry. Look at this search result. Things to do in Singapore. It's a classic informational query. Google just answered everything there in the AI overview. No need to click anywhere. And again, we ran an extensive analysis and we saw that zero-click rate hit 80% as of June 2025. That's not a trend, that's total displacement. For those of you in the audience that know the concept of zero-click, but you maybe don't call it zero-click searches, is when I search for something and maybe I interact with some of the SERP features, but I don't click through any link. That's what we call a zero-click search. And we see that for very informational queries, like things to do in Singapore, this trend is growing and is hitting 80%, has hit 80% in the latest period. And if you look at the timeline, you see that AI overviews, this is studied specifically in Australia, AI overviews launched on October 28th in Australia last year. By June, informational searches hit nearly 70% zero-click rate, while transactional searches stay kind of flat at 63%. As you see here how the Google selective strategy is working exactly as designed. Here is the scale of disruption. A 5-point surge may not sound like much. You may think, okay, only 5 points. But what we are talking about actually is millions of searches. Every one of those zero-click is a website that didn't get visited, a business that didn't get discovered, a revenue that disappeared. If you're running a content business, this chart shows you why your traffic is down. Now, Google is fighting back through all these things in a smart way, but there is one limitation with Google AI overviews. You cannot interact with them. In ChatGPT, I can have follow-up questions, I can refine my search until I reach a point where I'm kind of like not anymore in the awareness and consideration stage, I'm in decision stage. And then I go and buy whatever I was looking for, or I go and book whatever I searched. So how is Google adapting to that? And here's the kicker. Enter Google AI mode. Google AI mode, which was pilot tested in the US and India, and also in the UK, since August 12th, so we're talking about 3 weeks ago, started being deployed in every country, like 184 countries in the world. And it's coming. And this makes a great topic for our next webinar. So just hinting on what's coming next. With that said, to wrap up a little bit of those 2 points, the risk that we are finding from AI chatbots for us as brands or agencies that take care of the growth of brands online, the risk is that we're not visible in the new world of search. And our brand are flying blind in one of the fastest moving digital shifts. Think about the time, data, and resources you have invested already into optimizing for traditional search and paid media. And this new frontier is not an exception, is the next critical battleground, and it deserves the same level of attention and strategy and urgency. But now I created maximum tension, right? But now let me ease up a little bit the tension, because you can be armed with the right insights to keep ahead of the competitors. How? Well, Similarweb, right? What we help brands to do is analyze and improve your presence in generative AI. In practice, what this means is track your brand's presence in AI so that you can see where and how you show up in Gen AI answers and whether you're gaining or losing traction versus your competitors. Understand your audience in a new way, find out what they're asking and what AI says, and see the sources Gen AI relies on to know what content it pulls it from. And finally, get the competitive edge early by spotting visibility shifts before others do. And all that's left for us is to take a look at it together. And that's where I shift into our platform. So as we have spoken, we want to track 2 main things. I want to make sure that the platform is visible. Okay, as we have spoken, we want to track 2 main things. Number 1 is when someone puts a prompt in an AI chatbot, does my brand get mentioned? As well as does my brand get cited in the sources? And do I get clicks from it? And that's what we track under AI traffic. The amount of clicks that go into my brand, or maybe I'm studying the competitor's brand from AI chatbots. And for this specific example, we are looking at the last 6 months. We can also look at January to July 2025. for Puma.com in India. And what we see is that 66,000 visits were referred to Puma.com from AI chatbots. In particular, these are the AI chatbots massively by ChatGPT, but a little percentage also from Perplexity, Gemini, and Copilot. And these clicks went into Puma.com. And we can see here the curve of the number of clicks. These are the number of actual clicks by the passing of time for each chatbot referring traffic into Puma.com. And for each of the pages that Puma.com received traffic from AI chatbots, we can see what are the top prompts and also what is the share. We are able to see, at Similarweb, we are able to actually track real clicks from AI chatbot into Puma.com. And maybe something I can do a little bit unscripted is opening up my ChatGPT and showing it to you live. I'm gonna do what athleisure brands are best in India. This is a little bit of a strange query, but regardless, it helps to prove our point. Whenever ChatGPT comes up with an answer, as you can see, we are tracking two things. Number one is the traffic. Do I actually go into the links from which the answer is being taken? And how we are able to track it is, if you pick this specific link, as you can see in the URL, actually, I can see that the source of the click is ChatGPT. And so we are able to see that all the clicks that come from ChatGPT or from any other chatbot into your brand website or whatever other website from other competitors that you're studying. The other thing you want to understand is, does my brand get mentioned here? We covered the part on the clicks when it comes to specifically AI traffic. And we see what are all the landing pages of Puma in India that receive clicks. And for each of these pages, I can see the prompts. I can see what are the top prompt examples. And then this helps me to optimize my content, to optimize my schema markup, FAQ pages, to capture these prompts, because these prompts are what is getting traffic into Puma for this specific page, which is Smash It unisex sneakers, or for the homepage, for example, careers, etc. Another thing we want to look at is, does my brand get mentioned inside the platform, inside the AI chatbot? Do I get mentioned? And if I don't get mentioned, do my competitors get mentioned? I am going to go into, to do that, I will shift to AI brand visibility, which I have prepared here. And still remaining on the same topic, which is Puma in India, I have set up a campaign where I am tracking my visibility across topics. What do we mean by topics? Topics here like footwear, apparel, collection, sports, accessories, sustainability, lifestyle. These are clusters of prompts related to these topics. And for all these prompts that are related to footwear, in how many of them in percentage does my brand get mentioned versus the other brands? And I see I'm mentioned 34% of the times. And what are the top brands being mentioned? And I see it here. And what is the top source category of websites from where this information is taken from? And we see that is news and publishers. But then by hovering here, you can actually see what are all the other categories. Of course, competitor domains, reviews, marketplaces, social media. The same for apparel, collections, sports, etc. Not only that, but I can track my visibility across each of these topics over time versus my competitor, my top competitive brands. Here we have selected the top 10, but you can select all the brands that get mentioned in the answers by AI chatbots. And for example, my top topic where I surface the most is footwear. And so I'm going to look into footwear and see what is my trend line, whether I'm growing or declining. I'm in purple here versus my competitors like Nike and Adidas, for example. And we see that they are spiking a little bit ahead of me as of 2 days ago, 2nd of September. We scrape this on a daily basis. On top of that, I can see as of the last available day, which is yesterday, September 3rd, I can see what are the top prompts by topic and whether I am mentioned or I'm not mentioned. And if I am not mentioned, this is super fresh insight, super actionable insight. If I am not mentioned, for example, under footwear, and one of the top prompts is where is the nearest store to try on new sneakers, I want to see who does the AI chatbot mention instead of me. Not only that, I can also see the actual response, the full response, but across all the brands mentioned, here it gives me a summary. I can see what are all the sources and all the exact pages from where this answer is taken from. Why is that important? Because that's my way to adapt my content, even though for that specific prompt from an organic point of view on Google, I don't come up high. If I adapt my content, I have a high chance that ChatGPT will get data from me. And so it will cite me among the sources. By the way, and we'll get back to that later, you need to make sure that your crawlability for ChatGPT is available. This is a little bit more of a technical thing, but if you want to ensure that ChatGPT can surface your content, you need to make sure that their TXT files are allowed from your website. With that said, there's one more part that we want to look at. The one more part is the citation analysis. So I get all this traffic, all this visibility across all this topic. And here I have the top source categories, but let me see more in detail. Where do the citations come from for all of these topics? And this is launched actually just this week. And I can go into specifically citation analysis, and I see that for each of these topics, I can see what are the top domains that get cited by the AI chatbot, by ChatGPT, to surface the answer. And we see Reddit, Wikipedia, Nike, Amazon, etc. for accessories, and so forth for all the other topics. Not only that, but I can see exactly for each of these brands what are the cited URLs, and I can see who sources that category, as well as in which topics this URL gets cited across which of those topics, and in how many prompts do they get cited. It's a lot of information. We have all of them, all of the cited URLs, because like I said, we are able to track actual clicks from ChatGPT into websites. And this is how you know where your content should be placed. We see Reddit appears quite a lot. If you have not thought of a Reddit strategy yet, this is a great time to start doing so. I hope this suffices. And of course, I can see some questions are coming as well. And let me go back here and maybe open up the time for a little bit of Q&A. And I am going now to pick up some of the questions. There is my colleague Jenny here, who is answering some of the questions and writing some of the things. Let me pick up some. Okay, there's one that come in from someone in the audience. It says, does Google rank websites solely based on intent-driven content, or are there other factors it considers as well? Additionally, when running paid search campaigns, how can we optimize for keywords and intent-based queries to achieve better performance? Okay, the intent of a query, it's something that we label. We as Similarweb label what's the intent of a query. It's transactional, it's informational, it's navigational, etc. Google sees what are the queries, of course, that drive the most clicks to like merchant websites. So they have in place an algorithm to which I'm not privy to, that ensures that they do not cannibalize revenue for people advertising with them or for people basically making money through Google. With that said, the answer is no. Google does not rank websites based on intent-driven content, but there are a bunch of many things that it uses, but of course, intent is important. The other part of the question is, when running paid search campaigns, how can we optimize for keywords and intent-based queries to achieve better performance? That's where you need the intelligence on which keywords are working best, for example, for your competitors. So if you're running a paid search campaign, right, and you want to know, first of all, what is it the users are looking for? So what sort of keywords are they inputting in Google, and which of them get surfaced by AI, like Surface AI overview to answer, and you can also track the zero-click rate. If the zero-click rate of my competitor's keywords is very high, there's a lot of surfacing of AI overview. Probably is good for their maybe branding, I guess, that people will still know about them, but there's not a lot of click-through. And therefore, this is not something I want to put money on. Therefore, I want to put money more on conversional, transactional, high intent keywords. Like earlier in the example we mentioned, I made the example of Nike Pegasus. Someone putting in the model of a product, the model of a shoe, knows what he wants. So he's not anymore in the consideration stage. It's in the decision stage. I wanna compare pricing now. I want to see what offerings are there online. I want to see which retailer gives me the color that I want. And that's what drives really the clicks for people that are intention to buy. And this is what generally paid search is being used for, which is mostly to drive through clicks for bottom of funnel, so conversion. Then the next question that I'm reading is, in which platform I can track the competitor's brand performance in AI visibility? I can, through Similarweb, the AI brand visibility part, what you can do is you can set up campaigns. And when you set up campaigns, here we have many campaigns. When you set up campaigns, you put the brand here and then you get started. You can actually look at all the brands that you want. You don't have to just look at your own brand. You can look at your competitor's brand. And then you can see the brand performance in AI visibility by the topics that are of relevance to you, and ideally to your competitor as well, if you compete in the same space, of course. So this is how you would do it. Probably this is not the setting to showing you how to set up all of this, but that's one example. I will take two more questions. One is, could you show the results in different locations, Singapore, USA, Australia, etc.? Absolutely. So I can just give this example. I go into AI traffic and I put, I take, for example, puma.com. Here I'm taking United States. I can even take Nike.com. I will see United States, and then I can see what other countries were mentioned. I can see Australia, for example. I want to see in Australia, how many clicks does it get in Australia? And Australia is very heavy on ChatGPT versus all the other chatbots, as well as Singapore, for example. Yes, you have the ability to see across all the countries in which we collect data, which is more than 50, the same data for all of them. Hope that answers the question. And then one last one that I want to see. Let me see. There's one that says, where can we see these analytics? Yeah, in Similarweb. Are these prompts what are actually used by users, or they are simulated prompts? This is a great question. So that's a very important question. Are the prompts that we are capturing here, like as you can see here, for example, when we go here into prompts, are they actual user-generated prompts, or they are what this person asks is if they are simulated? There are two ways of getting prompts. One is what we call, what probably I think with simulated, the person meant synthetic. Synthetic prompts are basically, I see that there is traffic coming into ChatGPT, coming into Nike.com/SG, And then I pull from ChatGPT the data on which are the top prompts surfacing Nike.com/SG as an answer. And then I get the prompts from ChatGPT. We don't do it in a manual way. There's a way to do it in an automated way on the spot via API pool. This is what synthetic prompting is. There are other ways of getting prompts. One is just building a database of prompts and then scraping those prompts. Scraping those prompts meaning that I keep inputting them, of course, in an automated way. I keep inputting the same prompts on a daily or weekly basis, and then I see what is the answer every day for that specific prompt, or every week for that specific prompt, and I see what is the fluctuation of my visibility. But the main question is always, how do I get to know what are the prompts? We at Similarweb actually have intel into actual prompts. The thing is that a lot of the prompts that users put in are not necessarily generic. And so what we do is we give you the synthetic prompts that capture the value of what the users are actually searching. Mind you, we give you the top prompts example. There's a ton of prompts and a ton of nuances of users to ask the same type of question. So we give you the top prompts, meaning like we get to the core of what the question it is that they're asking in order to see where is the actual click. But the way for us to start analyzing all of this is to actually start from the clicks. So I see which page are users clicking on. And this one we can see actual clicks. We see what are the actual clicks going into the specific pages. And from there, we build back to understanding what are the prompts. And if one day someone clicks into another page that was not clicked before through ChatGPT, we can build back the prompts in the same way. Hope that answers your question. And I believe I have 2 more minutes for another question, and then we will wrap it up with some key takeaways and recommendations from today's session. There's one more question that comes in. It says, will this visibility, AI visibility, also work for smaller brands? I'm starting building my own website. It does. I am not too sure how familiar each one in the audience is with our methodology. And I don't want to make it long because I know we only have a little bit of time before we go into closing. But in a nutshell, how we work is we collect real user clicks from real user clicks in an anonymous way from actual users in each country in which we work. And we track all these clicks by tracking a sizable amount of the population clicks in each country. We, of course, don't track the whole online population clicks, right? So how can we identify smaller website is if the population that we track anonymously clicks into that website, we have very good intel to be able to see actual clicks into your website from AI chatbots. If the population that we track, what we call the contributory network, or the sample size of the population that we track from clicks, does not click into your website, we only rely on external signals, and they may not be always very reliable as compared to the contributory network. The real strength of Similarweb is that we have a huge contributory network in every country in which we work in. So to answer your question, it might capture also for smaller website. And when we talk about smaller website, we talk about few thousands visits per month only. We do have that signals, but of course, the accuracy and the reliability grows the more the website traffic grows. So we would say from 50, 70,000 visits per month and above, the accuracy tend to be very, very much higher. With that being said, I know there's a lot more questions. I just want to wrap up with some key takeaways and recommendations before we go into closing these sessions. If you guys have more questions, I am going to leave my email at the end. And so you will be able to actually email me directly so that I can cover your questions either in writing or on a separate session. But for now, let me go back into our slides, and that's where I'm going to go. So for today, key takeaways and recommendation that you can walk away with from this session are: number one is audit your AI accessibility. Check your robots.txt file, set permission for LLM text. If you're blocking OpenAI ChatGPT bot, you are invisible to ChatGPT. This is more the technical part, as well as the third point, which is implement rich schema markup. Add product reviews and FAQ schema markup to help AI understand your content structure, pricing, and availability. Also, be mindful to track brand visibility across chatbots. This is what you can do with, through Similarweb. See your share of mentions across competitors, across topics you care about. If you're not measuring it, you can't manage it. You can't action on what actual content elicits my website, should elicit my website to be cited among the sources and give me visibility in the answer. As well, for AI overviews, track AI overview keyword triggers. So you need to find out, monitor which keywords trigger Google AI overviews versus regular results, and then focus on protected transactional keyword while adapting vulnerable informational content. Protected transactional keywords should be your main focus. Informational content, you should adapt as you see spikes or declines in traffic, adapt your content. And you can do that as well through Similarweb that gives you intel into how many keywords are visible to AI overviews, what is the zero-click rate, and what's the search volume for those keywords, or how many clicks are there for those keywords into which websites. And then you can identify which keywords are worth spending time and resources in building content for, or rebuilding or updating your content for, and which are not really worth your time. So we conclude today's webinar with these takeaways, and across all the 4 areas you need to have covered: technical foundation, competitive intelligence, content optimization, and strategic defense. Execute these and you'll capture AI opportunities while protecting your Google traffic. Perfect framework for brands who need to move fast. Now, if you want to learn more, and I'm sure you do, because there's a lot of questions that we received that we could not cover, you can scan this QR code that brings you into a page in our Knowledge Center that expands a little bit more into our Gen AI intelligence. And we are happy to hear from you as well by contacting us directly. Regarding contacting us directly, here you have my email, which is my name.mysurname@similarweb.com. And I want to thank all of you for joining, for your great questions, and for being such an engaged audience. Feel free to reach out, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session. I kind of gave you a little bit of a teaser on what it might be on, so stay tuned, and thank you so much for your time.